Hi everyone, my name is Collection, and welcome back to another Pirate101 video. Today I want to give my opinion on all the class trainer spells and abilities. If you see one of my last videos, you'll know that I took a look at the spell teasers. And I think those are pretty cool. I think the power teasers, epic teasers, were pretty cool. And now that we're in test room, we can actually see what these class trainers have to offer in full glory. Now, do keep in mind, this is test round, so things are subject to change. So if some things do change around, I may go back to them and talk about them, but not really guaranteed. But since we're at the Commodore, I might as well just get this started and start stuff with him. So first of all, Star Wars Discipline. I have nothing else to say about this, but this is pretty neat. I like this ability. If you guys know me well, you already know that I already use it during Discipline. Quite a lot, actually. But people may think it's quite useless, but it actually helps out a lot. Like, even in solo play. Because, you can't miss a crit, and you don't have to put attribute buffs. So, that's pretty handy to me. I like Star Wars Discipline. Dispel Magic, Dispel Magic is a little iffy to me. Like, we already have a companion who has Dispel Magic for a preview at least. And you can already access Dispel Magic if you were to Techno Magician's Glasses from Bishop. So you don't really need this as a preview in my opinion. I would love if this got changed to Repo Borders free instead. Because us Pirateers, we have been stuck at Repo Borders 2 for years. We would have to rely on the Sting or any other items in Repo Borders to get to free, at least. And I think that's quite a crime. I think we should get Repo free naturally by now, to be honest. It would not only free up slots, but it would help out quite a bit. And now, Concentrated Fire. You guys already saw me talk about this. Basically, I love this. This is a really good power in my opinion. I cannot wait to use this whenever I can. The trading points aren't supposed to be there. That's kind of a bug they have to fix. So now we're at the Buccaneer's Den. First of all, we have Fear the Reaper. I like this. Now you guys might call me crazy. Like, the Reaper ain't even that good regardless. Like, why would you like Fear the Reaper? Well, it may stun for a turn, which is already pretty good enough. And believe it or not, at least in this setup, unironically, I use the Reaper. Not too much, but I do use it unironically. And it actually is pretty handy in some situations. At least in my setup, my repel-free Hold on 5 setup, it's pretty useful in some situations. Now, you already started talking about Battle Fury. I already like this. So it may not be the most broken power ever, but I can support my companions this way. Like, yeah, I may be using a shield, or maybe a team-wide shield. I could be using a strength buff, but I already have companions do that for me. So I might as well just pop a Blade Storm after popping a shield. I could have my companions access Blade Free. Yeah, I could have them train Blade Free. Well, for those who can't train Blade Free. Or what if I want to give a companion another epic instead of Blade Free. I could do that and grant Blade Storm for free turns. I like this. Now, Ram. Ram is quite interesting. This is another charge, but quite defensive charge. I don't know how long the 25% damage reduction lasts for. That's the thing. I don't know how long this lasts for. But either way, I think this is going to be pretty good. But it's just basically a defensive charge. Could also be pretty useful for this setup. Alright, now we have the Swash Trainer. Super Shadow Dance. Very, very nice. The 20% crit buff for free turns is pretty huge in my opinion. I would imagine you would have to time it pretty well, but I think this can really work out. I like this. Now, Fatal Blade is what kind of caught my attention. So, Fatal Blade is basically a better version of Hurl Knife. It does quite a lot of damage. The target takes 10% more damage for free turns, and they can't heal. I think that's pretty cool. Now, you guys already started talking about Ambush. Ambush is pretty okay. I think it could be pretty good in some scenarios. Like I said in the other video I covered this in, it kind of depends on how this works for me. Like, will you chain after hiding? Will you hide after you chain? Stuff like that. I feel like that's a factor as to how good this epic is. Alright, now Musketeer. First of all, we got Mozambique Drill. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I just kind of yodeled it. But this is a team epic for double tap, which is quite interesting. I think this definitely means I could potentially let go of the Cerberus Collar, which honestly pretty fine by me. That's pretty fine by me actually. I could run other things I prefer. Now, Giga Blast. Giga Blast is, when I saw this for the first time, I was like, oh man. Must got another huge buff, bro. So, what we have here is, first of all, this does a lot of damage. It damages surrounding enemies. It summons super traps to enemy squares. And it also depends on your gun range, which is pretty insane. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I think muskets are gonna have a really fun time using this. Like, this is insane, dude. And of course, you guys already saw me talk about explosive decoy. I still don't really know how it works, so I can't give too much of an opinion on this. But for now, I think the musket powers are pretty good. Now, the last thing we have here, Madame Vadima. We have Motor Javelin. You guys already saw me give my opinion on this. I think it's pretty cool. But the main thing I'm mainly focused on is soul extraction. So apparently, you can make a whole copy of an enemy. Right? Any enemy you choose. And apparently they'll scale to your level from what I've seen. Like, you could use this on a Troggy and it'll go up to your level. I saw it in a screenshot once. Which, pretty crazy. Not only that, but this also copies enemies' abilities. Their powers. I think they're epics. I could be wrong. But this is a pretty cool power. The only sad part is this is free range, but you know, I guess it makes sense. I guess it makes sense as to why this is free range, because this is already pretty broken enough. And the enemies that you make clones of spawn in with full health. So that's also another factor. I can imagine using this for my solos though. This is pretty dope. Now, Runic Skin. I think this will help Witches out a lot when it comes to defense. They already have so much lack of defense. They're already super squishy when it comes to enemies doing physical damage to them. So I think this can help out quite a bit. If only I had this in Agrabah, to be honest. I think that's kind of it for me, really. Like, nothing too much to talk about with these powers. I want to check out some other things in Test Realm as well, though. So you'll definitely see more videos on that. But with all that out of the way, that's just all I kind of want to show you guys for now. So I'm going to go ahead and see you guys next time. Peace.